Hey, this is a video for 8.15, Pathogens and Infectious Diseases. So go ahead and check out the overview and set up your guided notes. Okay, so one of the major factors that are contributing to the spread of infectious diseases is poverty. And poverty can influence the sanitation, the medical care, and also solid waste. So any of these items can help to spread diseases. Now we have diseases that are spread from vectors, which is like an animal or an organism that will spread a microorganism. Or we can also have infectious diseases that are spread from person to person. So another factor is global warming and climate change. We have areas that are just better environments for these organisms, like mosquitoes. In tropical areas, mosquitoes do not die, or they do not become dormant during the winter months, so they're able to maintain a constant population. Same thing with bacteria and viruses. So these are all easily spread in the tropics. If you've ever gone to Africa, Southeast Asia, South America, a lot of times you have to get like a malaria vaccine. Another thing is we are able to easily spread these diseases throughout the world because of transportation. We noticed this during COVID, because COVID was easily spread from a area, assumed in China and then spread out throughout the rest of the world. Came to New York, and then, New York was one of the first areas in the United States that saw it, and then it spread out from there. These are, an area, this shows the major airport hubs throughout the world. Notice that a lot of them are in the United States and Europe. We have a few through Southeast Asia as well. The first disease that I'm going to talk about, and these are vector-borne diseases. So we have the pathogen, which is the microorganism, and we have the vector, which is the animal that spreads them. So malaria is one that is caused by a protozoan, and it is spread by a mosquito. So a protozoan is, for our purposes, you can just assume it's like a bacteria, but it's not. Like amoebas are protozoans. Paramecium would be a protozoan. But they're spread by mosquitoes. So when an infected mosquito bites you, it transfers in their saliva. It will transfer this protozoan, and that's what makes you sick. When you're sick, the symptoms, you'll have flu-like symptoms. Can also lead to seizures and a coma. Malaria is easily preventable. You can get shots to prevent malaria before you travel to any countries where malaria is found. Another example is West Nile virus. West Nile virus has recently shown up over the last 20 years. It's been showing up in New York. It is a virus, and it is spread by mosquitoes. And the symptoms, you can have a fever, a headache, or a rash, and it can lead to brain inflammation. Another disease is the plague, and the plague is very much more rare. It's still not completely eliminated. It still shows up in many countries. It doesn't really show up in the United States, although it has. It is caused by a bacteria, and it is spread by fleas, but the fleas travel on the rats. So the two vectors are rat and rats containing fleas. And this happened in the Middle Ages. Rats on the ships were biting people or spreading, or the fleas were coming off the rats and biting people and then transferring that bacteria to people. The symptoms, you'll have fever, chills, and you're going to get muscle aches. And eventually it'll affect your lymph nodes, and it can also affect your lungs. Now, Zika is a virus that is spread by mosquitoes, and Zika shows up, at least in recent history, it's shown up in South America. And if you notice, Zika doesn't really affect us. But what can happen is you can affect pregnant women, and if they have been exposed to Zika, a lot of times you will have A baby born that is microcephalic. So this baby, notice the brain or the skull is less developed than a typical, than a normal non-Zika baby. And this can lead to developmental disorders. Also, people born with microcephaly don't usually have as long of a lifespan. But you can also have a fever, a headache, and a rash. Another example is Lyme disease. Lyme disease has also been around for the last 40 years or so in the United States, or at least that's when I've heard about it. Lyme disease is spread by a bacteria that is found in a deer tick. And deer ticks are found out in the woods, and they will usually bite you on your leg and spread this bacteria, and it gives this very noticeable bullseye rash. So you will have fatigue, body ache, and headaches. If it's not treated, you can have long-term chronic effects that can affect you for, several years, if not the rest of your life. Another one, and these are not as common in the United States, but we have the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, MERS. So the next couple ones are very similar to COVID. It is a virus. This one is spread by camels. It will give you flu-like symptoms very similar to COVID. And this is more common, obviously, in the Middle East, because it's in the name, and anywhere where camels are found and where camels are common. One that is very common in the United States is SARS, and that's Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, very similar to MERS. It's caused by a virus. It is spread by saliva droplets. So this is now an infectious disease, and it is spread from person to person. And it can transfer between different species as well. But the symptoms are they're flu-like symptoms because all of these are caused by a form of a coronavirus. And the symptoms are also very similar to COVID. So you will have, you might be exhausted. You might have scratchy throat, runny nose. You might have nausea. Tuberculosis is a disease that is not as common in the United States. It is still common throughout the world, but people used to die of it like 100 years ago. Tuberculosis is caused by a bacteria. It is spread by droplets of water and also droplets of blood. So when people get tuberculosis, it affects the lungs, and when you cough, you will have a bloody cough. I remember, if you've ever seen the movie or the musical Moulin Rouge, Satine, played by Nicole Kidman, had tuberculosis. And, in movies, especially movies, from like the 1900s or the 1800s, when someone coughed and they coughed up blood, that really meant that they had tuberculosis and they were sick. And a lot of times those people were, it was terminal. Now tuberculosis is preventable and it is treatable. But these diseases, especially diseases that are caused by bacteria, are becoming more and more difficult to treat because of resistant bacteria. And one other one is cholera. And cholera is caused by a bacteria. And if you notice, it is caused by the contamination, by contaminated water. So when you have contaminated water, you'll have different nutrients that are found in this contaminated water. If you have nitrogen and phosphorus, these bacteria can grow exponentially. So anytime you're eating any fruit that has been rinsed with contaminated water, fecally contaminated water, if you're eating or drinking any water that has fecal matter in it, any E. coli bacteria can lead to or any coliform bacteria, can lead to the spread of cholera. Also, if you have drinking water that hasn't been treated. So cholera can be found in many different areas. It is easily treated, especially if you're camping, for example. It's always best to either boil or filter your water. So the vector is water with fecal contamination, which is kind of nasty. And the symptoms, diarrhea and vomiting. It can be fatal because of the dehydration that goes with diarrhea and vomiting. If you're getting rid of a lot of liquids and you're not replenishing those liquids, that leads to dehydration, and that can be fatal. So what I would like you to do is respond to this check for understanding. And for your FRQ practice, explain why cholera is relatively common in sub-Saharan Africa. I hope that this video was informative. I thank you for your attention, and I'll see you soon.